Hello, today's review is going to be Unlock Escape Adventures. This is going to be the first of kind of a series of reviews on sort of these board game, escape room type games. First one I'm doing is Unlock, and basically I'm going to give sort of a brief synopsis here. Be warned, there are going to be some minor spoilers for the tutorial that's included in every single copy of Unlock. So you'll just have some minor spoilers for that. But that takes 15 minutes, and really it's just kind of to get you introduced to the system. I'm not going to spoil anything of the actual scenario in this box or any of the other boxes. So Unlock works like this. Basically like any escape room, you're locked in a room. Now instead of physical components or sort of hidden compartments in a box or anything like that, this uses a complete whole deck of cards. The first card you normally see is basically going to be flipped over, and it's the room. And you'll see a bunch of numbers around. Those are the various locations you can go to. So you search through the big pile of cards that you have, and when you find the numbers that correspond to the card, you're going to flip them over. They're going to be sometimes an object, maybe another sort of, like for instance, a cabinet, and that cabinet is locked. So you know that you need to find a key. Maybe one of those other objects you find is a key. Now after you've done sort of your first exploration, then you're going to have various items. Typically, the items are colored as such. There's red and blue, which usually they show a puzzle piece in the upper left-hand corner, and those can be combined together. I'll go over how that works in just a sec, but the other cards are as follows. There's green, which those are typically puzzle cards. Yellow, which is a code you have to enter into the app. There are also a few cards that are gray. Sometimes these are just modifiers that can be added to a red or a blue card. So the way this all basically works, to solve the puzzles, you're going to basically combine objects and combine numbers. For instance, we have that red cabinet we found and then the blue key. You combine the numbers of both cards, and if you can find that number in the deck, which in this case we can, you will be able to reveal that card. Now be warned, in the actual game, some cards are false positives. You'll flip it over and you'll get a penalty, which is, I believe, minus 5 minutes or so. Finally, at some point, you'll be able to enter a passcode basically into the app, which will then unlock the final door, and you are free. That's basically how Unlock works. I'm mostly going into the tutorial here, so there are a few twists and turns in the actual game. For instance, without spoiling anything, some cards you have to look very closely at. There are secret numbers hidden on the card, or maybe sort of secret clues hidden on the cards themselves. So comparing Unlock to an actual sort of escape room, it does a pretty good job of replicating the experience. Now, it's not perfect as it's just a deck of cards, so you don't actually get to search through real cabinets or anything like that, but there are sort of some cool little things and twists that they do. Some of the puzzles aren't really quite super simple, but I wouldn't say any of the puzzles are really super hard as some other escape games can be. Now, there are a few negatives I feel to this game. One, the big thing is sort of the player count. Really, I can't see you playing really much more than 3 people. Since the puzzles kind of just are very sort of, you solve one, and then you can't really solve another puzzle, even if you have parts of the pieces towards it, until you've solved another puzzle. They were just kind of one after the other. Meaning that really, besides having people look for cards in the deck, there's not much for some people to do. I mean, yes, the more people you have, the more brain power, but I feel like at some point somebody's just going to be kind of sitting around not being able to see cards, not going to be able to see what everybody's doing, and they're going to end up bored. I'd say 3 people is probably the sweet spot for this game. 4 maybe is doable, but again, I do feel like somebody's going to be bored at that player count. One sort of negative is the usage of an app in this game. I don't think it's a negative, but I know many people out there really don't like the use of apps in sort of board or card games. And so you really can't avoid the app in this. It doesn't just keep track of time, it also keeps track of the passcode. There's a hint system inside of the app, and also any penalties that you incur, you have to enter in the app, and it'll take that off the time for you. And of course, the most obvious negative of this game is, of course, is that it's one and done. You basically pay about $15. That's what MSRP value of this game is, and you go play for about an hour, and you're done. And once you're done, that's it. Now, the nice thing is you don't destroy any components or anything, so you can pass it on and perhaps make some of that money back, or at least somebody else gets to enjoy it. So for what Unlock is, it's definitely not the best of the escape room type games out there, at least of the ones I've played thus far. It's not a bad replication of the system and sort of that type of game, but it's not the best. It's more simplistic. You can't really play with too many people, and it is an hour and done. Some of the others are a little bit longer than that. Some are a little bit shorter, depending on the puzzle difficulty and such. But this one is basically an hour and you're done, and that's it. That's all the playtime you're really going to get out of this game. Most of the puzzles are relatively simplistic. They do require some thinking here and there about what sort of clues mean and things, but so far, at least from what I've played on Lock, it's the most simplistic of those escape room type games out there. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's the easiest to get into. So if you want to at least try what escape room type games are like, especially in a card or board game fashion, Unlock is probably a pretty good choice to go with. And that does it for this review. There's going to be some more reviews later down the pipeline of other escape room type games out there. But enjoy this one for now. Like and subscribe. Let me know what other sort of escape rooms games you would like me to review. And see you next game night. Bye.